Hello and welcome to today's work, where I color something random and talk about current events and future plans and other miscellaneous things. The first thing I'd like to talk about is my recent animation challenge submission, which I was actually very pissed off about at the time. I may or may not do a full post-mortem about the issues I had, but in summary, Rooster Teeth has this bad habit of padding out slower scenes with long moments of pointless silence or pointless bits of dialogue, which I usually completely forget about because, well, they're pointless. I tend to remember and focus on the key scenes, which is what I did for most of that last day on November 1st. So imagine my shock when it came down to the final hour and I realized I still had over 8 seconds of nothingness left in that first half that I had to scramble to fill in with something. On average, one frame in that animatic lasts half a second, so 8 seconds is at least 16 frames, and it takes me at least 15 minutes just to color a frame that I've already drawn. So you do the math on how much I managed to get done in an hour and how proud I was of the result. Even though the second half kind of made up for it, it was still kind of humiliating. Plus I ended up with a lot of leftover frames I'd drawn earlier that I simply didn't have time to add in. Well, since I hate to let my hard work go to waste, I'm planning to post an updated version of that animatic sometime in the future. I don't expect it to be factored into Judgmental Critter's eventual video, since that wouldn't be fair to the other participants, but I feel I have to do it just for the sake of my pride and self-respect. Which brings me to my next topic, which is much more unpleasant, the most recent rash of workplace abuse scandals at Rooster Teeth, to which the fandom has been reacting over the past few weeks. I don't really blame anyone for being shocked, even though it is far from the first time something like this has happened. I know that RT's relationship with its fans is more parasocial than most, and when you're in a place like that and you want it badly enough, it's easy to convince yourself to see victims where you should be seeing perpetrators and enablers. However, at this point, I think most of the fans who are aware of what happened understand that RT's management has done something awful yet again, and for many this may be the last straw. Especially for those of us who are already critical of RWBY. After all, if you don't like the content, and you certainly don't like the content creators, why keep supporting the franchise? It's something to think about. Personally, I'm still on the fence. I'm probably gonna go ahead and finish the active RWBY fan projects I have in the works, like the Ice Queendom rewrite, but as for reviving inactive ones or starting new ones, I don't know, I'm still undecided. But for those content creators who are definitely going to stop talking about RWBY and move on to other things, I hope you'll all reach out to the ones you know and make sure they know they still have your support. Because let's be honest here, it's most likely going to be a financial decision as well as a moral one. RWBY is popular, and talking about RWBY and doing fan art for RWBY brings in a lot of views and engagement that a lot of creators would not receive otherwise. I've been a fan artist all my life, so I know. Sometimes when viewers can no longer associate you with a larger franchise, they simply stop caring about you altogether. It's not really right or wrong, it's just how it is. And it can make stepping away from fan art a really difficult decision. And I hate to think that there will be artists out there who are already feeling really disappointed and betrayed by something they used to love, and will now have to choose between continuing to create content they're no longer comfortable with or continuing to eat. So, if you're not going to abandon them when they choose to abandon RWBY, let them know it. Give them some hope. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Now, let's lighten the mood a bit with one last topic. It's time to talk about my own future plans for non-RWBY related content. Because whether or not I continue with RWBY stuff in the long run, I do want to do other things, and this is the perfect opportunity to think about it. It's been tough to think about, though, because there aren't many franchises like RWBY for me. You know, the ones that invoke that feeling of, I love you, but I really need to fix you. For instance, take Hoseki no Kuni, also known as Land of the Lustrous. It's an amazing manga that's going to come to an end this winter, which also has what is probably one of the greatest 3D anime adaptations ever made, which I desperately hope will continue someday. I love pretty much everything about it, which is why it would be very boring for me to talk about. I'm perfectly happy just taking it at face value, so there's nothing I really want to add or examine about the story or characters. Now, on the other hand, there's Shoujo Kageki Review Starlight, a magical girl series with a sort of theater theme. I mostly keep tabs on the franchise because of the music. I watched the actual anime one time and I thought it was okay. The plot and characters are all kind of bare bones. It has a good atmosphere and good animation, but there's not a lot of depth to anything else. So there is a lot I could fix. Unfortunately, there's so much to fix that I'm not invested in any of it, so I don't even want to. I don't really like any of the characters, well, except for one or two, and I'm not interested in any of their character arcs. Trying to learn enough about them to do a quality rewrite would be a chore. I'd much rather remain a mildly dissatisfied spectator. So yeah, I had to shoot down a lot of options like those. Either I liked them too much, or I didn't like them enough. I could still do an occasional design video for those kinds of things, but what I was really looking for were things I could make into series, the way I've done for Ruby. Things I could talk about at length and make designs for and devote a lot of time to. And I'm happy to report that I eventually found some. I'm not going to talk about them yet, though. All I will say is that one of them is an anime from the 1970s, and the other one is actually a live-action series. I don't know when I'll introduce them to the channel. If I keep struggling with the Ice Queendom thing, it may be sooner than you think. We'll see. Now, this picture I'm coloring right now is completely unrelated. I'm just redoing some character designs for my virtual band, OCs. Once upon a time, I wanted to make a whole debut album full of songs for them, but I only finished 2, and now it's been so long that they wouldn't be up to my current standards anyway. I still want to try to make that album, but I figure I might as well release the first 2 as a single or something, so that's one of the many things I'm working on in my spare time. If you're interested, I'm sure I'll announce it on Twitter or Tumblr or wherever when the time comes. And that's it for today's work. Like, subscribe, whatever, and I'll see you next time.